Hey Joe, have you ever tried blackface?
Shouldn't I be asking you that question since, you're the white one here?
I'm only wondering because I know black performers used to have to wear blackface in order to get on stage.
Yeah, back in the 19th century. Just how old do you think I am?
I don't know, 106?
106? How could I be 106?
Diet and exercise.
Are we going somewhere with this?
Sorry, yeah, I was asking you about blackface. Why would black performers have to put on black makeup to pretend to be black when they're already black?
That would fall under the category of stuff white people like.
So what are you saying? That most audiences were white, so if you were a black singer or whatever, you had to black up, otherwise white audiences wouldn't believe it?
That's pretty much it.
So white people knew what actual black people looked like, but for entertainment purposes, they wanted white people to pretend to be black people, but they also wanted black people to pretend to be black people.
Yep.
That's stupid.
That's white people.
Huh. That's true. God damn, we're fucked up.
Welcome to Does This Still Work? The podcast that's always and asks, does this still work? I'm Joe Dixon.
And I'm George Romacka. And today we're discussing Dear White People from 2014 and some historical context. First, podcasty stuff. You can reach us at dtswpod@gmail.com, on Facebook, Letterboxd, and on our YouTube channel. Joe is on Blue Sky at joedixon.bsky.social. Please tell your friends about us, even the ones who would fit some description from this movie, but I can't think of a fucking one that I could say as a white person that wouldn't get me in some kind of trouble, and leave 5-star ratings everywhere.
How about telling your friends about us, even the ones who are into Star Trek and aren't embarrassed by it?
That's fair. Even the ones who are Trekkies and are not embarrassed by it.
There we go.
You can pick what we watch and get extra per episode content by funding us on Patreon for as little as $1 a month at patreon.com/dtswpod. Now, Joe, take us back to 2014.
And that's the way it was.
2014, back when Barack Obama was in the White House and Hillary Clinton was on her way to becoming the next president of the United States. Boy, did that not work out. We're recording this before Election Day 2024, so I can only hope America has learned its lesson and has elected Kamala Harris as president.
Well, I voted today, and that's who I pressed the button for.
Thank you. Let's see. So let's just hope that's what happened. Right, listeners? There in the future, please let that be right.
Please.
We elected Kamala Harris, right? Right?
Because this is the last episode we're recording before Election Day.
Yeah.
It'll release well after Election Day, but we're recording it beforehand.
Anyway, we begin the cold open talking about Blackface. The movie focuses on Blackface, so guess what this history corner is going to be about?
Does it, though? Does the movie focus on blackface? Because that plays a part for like 20 minutes of the movie.
It's an inciting incident. And it does start with the...
I mean, it does start with the news, with talking about it, but then it doesn't happen for most of the movie.
Well, they got to lead up to it.
They did. They certainly did that.
But what do you think this is going to be? All right, so the cold open is blackface. I think the movie focuses on blackface. What do you think I'm going to discuss for the history corner?
Parallel parking.
No, but close. Blackface.
Should have guessed.
Because the movie does not specify where the film takes place, we can throw geography to the wind and cover all of America.
Woohoo!
Woohoo, indeed. George, read this headline from The Standard, a newspaper that served St. Catharines and Niagara. This is in Canada.
Blackface incident draws fire. Which is weird because, as we learned in Bamboozled, fire is part of how you made blackface.
Indeed. Oh, that's right. We did learn that there, didn't we?
Yep.
I linked the story in the show notes, and I will read the caption that accompanies the story. Quoting, Brock University professor Larry Savage tweeted this photo of students who won the costume contest at the Student Union Pub on Thursday. The students are dressed as a blackface Jamaican bobsled team. End quote.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Hey, remember when we had tweets?
Yep.
As opposed to the bullshit we have now? Anyway, let me read this. Very close to Brock University in Niagara Falls, blackface minstrel shows were aimed at white tourists until the 1950s, the faculty wrote. However, blackface is not simply a remnant of a racist historical past, but part of a broader set of cultural practices which retain and normalize anti-black racism and systematic oppression. Students, staff, and faculty at Brock University need to understand that such costumes are not just a joke. End quote. George, how much of this isn't racism but legitimate young people just being stupid with no idea of this history? Or could it be both?
0% of it isn't racism.
Even if they're ignorant of what the history is.
Nobody putting on blackface is ignorant of what the history is.
I question that because I do remember there was this kid. It was on the news. He wanted to dress up as Martin Luther King. And his dumb parents had him put on brown shoe polish on his face. I was supposed to tell him, honey, don't do that. So I don't know. I mean,
how old was this child?
12.
Okay. These are university students. They don't get the pass of a 12-year-old whose parents okayed something.
Fair enough. All right, moving on. Let's go to Arizona. George, read this headline from the Arizona Republic.
Black painted faces at ASU game spur some students to seek ban.
I have no idea if this was banned or not. Did not check, did not care. I did want to examine the excuses used. I'm going to quote, and then you tell me, George, what you think of this.
Okay.
The students painted their faces black, but not their lips in blackface fashion. I painted my face black because it was our Blackout game, he wrote in an email to Arizona Republic, and for our Maroon or Monsoon game, I plan to paint my face maroon. Tim Schott said he considers himself a hardcore Sun Devils fan. Schott said he painted his face black to show school spirit. He said other ASU students drew criticism a few years ago when they painted their bodies black for a Blackout game. I'm trying to help clear up that this is not blackface, he said. This is taking face paint and putting it on your face. This is not a terrible misrepresentation of African Americans. This is a simple football tradition. End quote. George, white man that you are, what do you think?
I could absolutely see somebody thinking that and saying those words out loud and believing them. However, no, just because you didn't do the lips thing doesn't make it not black. Like, we have to lose, like, people who looked like me kept people who look like Joe slaves for 200 fucking years. We just don't get to paint our faces black. We just don't get to do that. That's fine. It's one thing we don't get to do. We can fucking live without doing that. Don't fucking do that. There's no goddamn good reason to do that.
In fairness, I think there is a distinction between that and traditional blackface.
Sure, I think then do half of your face black. Do it in a pattern that is very obviously not blackface. But just painting your face black? Face. Black face. Black. You put those words together, it is what it is.
Agreed. Also, I think that, you know, they have those costumes you wear that's green so you can fit on a green screen.
Yeah.
If you want to paint that black, I think that's okay. Because then your whole body's black, but it's not. You're clearly not a black person.
Sure, or dress like a fucking ninja.
Yeah.
Because that's just a different cultural appropriation.
Yes. Yeah, maybe not ninja is not a good reference either. Anyway, okay, George, tell us about Dear White People.
Okay, this was written and directed by Justin Simeon,
whose work I've seen in Bad Hair.
Mm-hmm. Blurbs, IMDb, and Amazon say the lives of 4 black students at an Ivy League college. That's not even a sentence.
Tells you absolutely nothing.
No, and grammatically, it's offensive grammatically.
It's incomplete thought.
What really gets me about that is either IMDb or Amazon copied the other one. Somebody thought that was worth copying.
They're very lazy.
HBO says, in this razor-sharp social satire, tensions rise at a predominantly white Ivy League school after a black student calls out her peers.
That's closer to it, yeah.
It's closer, yes. So we're going to start with a sound clip.
Oh, goody.
I've got 12 of them for this movie.
Oh, boy.
A race war has erupted at one of the nation's oldest and most prestigious institutions. Outrage over an African-American themed party organized by predominantly white students of Winchester University
has resulted in rioting and property damages. Police were called to disrupt a massive fight that broke up
between African-American students and partygoers just after midnight. To address diversity issues, the school had recently
appointed African-American scholar Dr. Walter Fairbanks as Dean of Students. Last year, the Dean's office celebrated slight
gains in diverse applicants, but with many now calling for Fairbanks' resignation that may have been premature.
School officials released a statement claiming that an investigation into those responsible for the party and subsequent riot is underway. An invite to the Halloween party sent via social media asked guests to liberate their inner Negro, fry up chicken, enjoy a cough syrup-based concoction known as purple drink, and wear...
You know, the only thing I would object to in that news report, or rather, the depiction of the news report, since obviously it's not real news, it's a script that they're reading from, there's a movie, is that generally speaking, whenever news reports cover racial issues, they don't use racism or anything, and they say racially tinged or racially charged or racially... They're very afraid to use the word racism for some odd reason.
Yep, they sure are.
Although, technically, I guess in this one, they don't say racism either, but, you know, I don't think they would say race war. They would say racially tinged or racial incident.
Yeah. That's like a minute-long sound clip, and the summary is still 2,300 plus words. And I don't actually... Like, there's a point where I stop talking about the movie, because it's like, the plot's done. I don't have to keep talking about this anymore.
I guess that'll be my job.
Yeah, well, this is all played over still-ish shots of some of the major cast members before we hop into a time machine and go back 5 weeks to a chapter called Campus Arrivals. And I just want to say, note one thing. Only Black-centric movies seem to have these chapters in them.
Really?
And I'm only remembering two now, though. This one... and Love and Basketball.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. It doesn't stand out to me.
My sample size of 2.
What they do have is like, here's the clicks. That does have that, like all the other college movies have.
Yeah.
Or high school movies.
So we get establishing shots of Winchester University. Title cards list the top academic programs. Bing School of Business. Desmond School of History. School of Media, named after nobody, I guess.
Yeah, that's weird.
We get the first drop of the title drops from a campus radio show called Dear White People.
Dear white people, the minimum requirement of black friends needed to not seem racist has just been raised to 2. Sorry, but your weed man, Tyrone, does not count.
The first thing I find wrong with her show is that it appears to be just a series of tweets. It's not really a radio show. She just says something snarky, and that's it. It's like, that's the whole goddamn show. It just starts constantly saying snarky one-liners, and occasionally someone calling in.
Yeah.
What kind of radio program is this?
Right? Like, I wondered that, too. It's like, where's all, like, because we see other times where she does this, where her mouth is moving a lot more, but we never hear what she says. All we hear is what happens when she says, Dear White People, and then whatever comes after that.
Yeah. It's a terrible show. I don't see how it can be popular.
So our first protagonist is undeclared sophomore Lionel Higgins, who gets forcefully handed a flyer as he walks across campus. He's locked out of his housing at Garment House. He calls inside only to hear a homophobic voicemail greeting made by his housemate.
Lionel Higgins is played by Taylor James Williams, whose work I've seen in United States versus Billie Holiday.
The flyer he's handed is to elect Samantha White to bring the black back to Armstrong Parker House, which has historically been the black house on campus. Recently, school administration has made steps towards integrating black students into other houses, and Sam aims to stop that. That's one way to parse out what's happened here. There's obviously other ways to look at it. And then we get the next title drop.
Dear white people, apparently Morgan Freeman wasn't enough. Obama could cure cancer, and somewhere white folks will be embroiled in protest. And he's only half black.
By the way, is this the only radio program on that campus?
I don't think they reference another one. I know that they reference 3 different publications.
Yes, they got a bunch of school newspapers, yeah.
Yeah.
Strange. All right.
We see a couple of students chuckling at that. She handles a call from one who asks how she'd feel if someone started a Dear Black People. Her response is that the majority of major media already tells black people what white people think of them. Fair.
That is correct. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Samantha White is title carded as a Media Arts junior. In addition to running and hosting Dear White People, she's autographing copies of her self-published book, Ebony and Ivy, a survival guide to keep from drowning in a sea of white.
Samantha White is played by Tessa Thompson, who George and I have both seen in Creed, Thor Ragnarok, Thor Love and Thunder, Avengers Endgame. And for myself, I've seen her in Creed 2 and Creed 3, The Marvels, Sylvie's Love, Sorry to Bother You, and Selma.
We get more title card explanation, which is this film's version of click walking. I guess.
No, it is. You're definitely right.
This time, it's of the popular residence halls. We have Bechet House, Webster House, Garmin Clubhouse, and Armstrong Parker House.
I know Armstrong Parker is named after the jazz players. I don't know
Louis
if
Armstrong and Charlie Parker.
Louis Armstrong and Charlie Parker, yeah. I don't know about the others.
Our next protagonist, Coco Connors, is an economics sophomore, and she's using a vlog entry about her support of randomized housing assignments as an audition for a reality show.
So your YouTube show, it's called Doing Time at an Ivy League.
In my second year of a 4-year sentence.
Armstrong Parker, that's your housing assignment?
Traditionally, it's where the hopelessly Afrocentric gather to process their guilt over not going to an HBCU. Where the Negroes be at.
Which brings up an interesting question. You have to wonder why Samantha White didn't go to an HBCU.
Good question, Joe.
And it's never addressed. You're like, well, if you feel this way about it, why are you here? Why didn't you just go to a traditionally black college?
I think it's because she didn't. I mean, they do get into the fact that she is biracial and doesn't feel necessarily like she belongs anywhere, so she overcompensates in one direction. But this is a hell of a movie, Joe. But I'm just going to say good question. She'd rather be at Bechet House with the rich white kids. The reality show director, Helmut West, is not impressed.
I've never met a black person named Helmut.
Yeah, me neither.
Maybe he's biracial. Can't imagine who names someone Helmut, who's not German. Isn't it a German name?
It sounds like it.
Anyway, Coco Connors is played by Tania Paris. I'm sorry if I fucked up your name, Tania. I think that's
Teona.
Thank you. Thank you, white man. Tania Paris.
I'm just looking at the letters on the screen, dude.
I'm not making fun of you. I'm saying you have a better idea how to pronounce it than I do. It's funny. Anyway, I seen her in Chirac. If Beale Street Could Talk, which is a fantastic movie. I can't wait to watch it again for the show. The Marvels, again, that's the second time we mentioned The Marvels, and Helmut West is played by Malcolm Barrett, who unfortunately neither George or I have seen him in anything else.
We haven't seen him in anything else yet.
That's what I said.
No, I'm saying yet.
Oh, okay.
Because this movie came out in 2014. This is just barely legal in terms of what can be on DTSW.
Indeed.
Later, Coco is walking through Armstrong Parker House with her friend and daughter of the school president, Sophia Fletcher. Sophia is assigned to Bechet House and swears her daddy had nothing to do with it. Sophia is there to meet up with her boyfriend, Troy Fairbanks, son of the Dean of Students and Political Science Junior. Troy is also currently head of Armstrong Parker House. It's election night, and he's got a ton of work to do. He briefly calls out to Kurt Fletcher, Sophia's brother and son of the school president. Kurt just kind of like, hey, and that's it.
Yep.
Sophia Fletcher is played by Brittany Curran. Troy Fairbanks is played by Brandon P. Bell. And Kurt Fletcher is played by Kyle Gallner,
who I've seen in Dinner in America.
And I've seen in Red State.
And boy, does this guy look different. Like, obviously, 2014, he's a much younger person, but it's like funny. I did not recognize him. I didn't realize I was Kyle Gallner until saw the credits. Oh, I just saw him in Dinner in America. I know he's also in the Smile movie, which I haven't seen, so that's why it's not in the credits. And the one where people think he's a serial killer, but he's not, whatever that picture was called that I didn't see.
Troy and Sophia round a corner to see the house store being used as campaign headquarters for Samantha, manned by Sam's hopeful boyfriend, Reggie. Reggie is played by Mark Richardson.
To be honest, I wasn't crazy about any of the development, any of the characters in this, but I think he is the least developed.
Agreed. He's Malcolm X wannabe the entire time.
Yeah, he doesn't change. He doesn't have a background. He's just there.
But at the same time, his lack of character development makes him one of the strongest characters in this movie.
Okay.
Because at least he knows what he believes in. Over the house PA, we get another title drop, aimed squarely at Sophia and Troy.
Dear white people, this just in. Dating a black person to piss off your parents is a form of racism.
I mean, again, pithy but fair.
Obviously, we're going to get into it later, I'm sure, but she's clearly reacting to her own parents' relationship because, yeah, she's directly aiming at them. She has no idea what their actual relationship is. You can't define other people's relationship. She's not in it. She don't know how they feel about each other.
Mm-hmm.
I remember once there was this woman was saying, like, there used to be a time when a lot of black women tend to get very mad if they saw a black man with a white woman.
Mm-hmm.
But she said these days, Nobody cares. Date whoever you want. Just don't be an asshole about it. Like, you find you want to date a white woman, that's right, but don't be like, black people suck and black women this, black women. That's what black women hate.
Yeah. Up in his room, Troy smokes a bowl and writes some jokes.
Why would he not have his girlfriend know that he's smoking? Number one. And number two, you would swear he's the only one on campus. This is a college campus. I've been on college campuses. Let me tell you, they do a lot more than smoke weed.
I mean, we do see somebody else getting at least talked to about it later.
Yes, it's true. But it's like, it seems like this is the most non-drug using college campus I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. So we get another chapter heading, House Elections. Now it's time for the candidates to make their cases on why they should be elected. Troy's platform is basically that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Sam's position is that it is broke. That the Housing Randomization Act wasn't to promote diversity, but to disempower black students by dilution. She has a petition to repeal the act that she'll bring to the school president if she's elected. Helmut West watches her with interest.
I don't know why. I didn't find that interesting, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
That is like the worst campaign. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Thank you, everybody. I think it is broke, and we should get rid of this position. All right. But apparently, that's the only problem with that house. There's no problem with the plumbing. And by the way, where's security? Have you ever actually been on a college campus? They have lots of security there.
Yep.
This place has none. That would be one of the complaints. Like, sometimes we come in and they act like we don't belong on this campus. Something like that. No. That apparently not a problem on this particular Ivy League campus, which is interesting. All right.
Voting commences via smartphone app, and the results are near instantaneous. Samantha wins. Helmut is now very interested, and when Coco notices that and confronts him about it, he says that conflict makes for good TV, and Sam has that without having to try at it.
And without him actually talking to her.
Mm-hmm. Lionel is in the office of Dean of Students, who plays the homophobic voicemail greeting from Garment House. Dean Fairbanks offers him a spot in Armstrong Parker, but Lionel says that in high school, the black kids were more antagonistic towards gay kids than anyone else was. Dean then tries to make a jazz metaphor.
Obviously, I'm an older person, and definitely in my time, wildly homophobic. But I did notice, and then I wasn't in school at the time, so completely different context. But back when I was doing stand-up and I go to those open mics, I was surprised at how there were a lot of black younger men than myself who were openly gay, and it was fine. It was no, I mean, and this is around 2014, maybe a little after 2014. So I don't know if that issue really would exist as much. But I'm not gay. I don't have these issues. But still, it's.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know.
Me neither, Joe. Me neither. I can't possibly know more than you on that, and you don't know enough. Right.
I just know of the guys that I knew who were openly gay, or just black cops who were gay. They would go up on stage and talk about being gay, and no one gave them any shit about it. So
yeah, but those are comics getting on a stage. Those aren't kids in a high school.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's true. But you remember I started doing a little bit of stand-up back in the 80s. And let me tell you something. You went up there and you said you were gay. You got a lot of homophobic bullshit. Just different times, man. Different times. Dean Fairbanks is played by Dennis Haysbert. Apparently a man who we are big fans of because we've seen a lot of his stuff. For the show, we've seen him in Jarhead, Love and Basketball, Waiting to Exhale, and Sin City. And for myself, I've seen him in Far From Heaven, Ted 2, and Heat. Do you think his character in Love and Basketball sort of Dean Fairbanks-y, don't you think? So, except, without the adultery.
Isn't Dennis Haysbert the spokesman for an insurance company?
Yep. Car insurance, I believe.
That's everything I see him in. I just think of him as that character.
I think on this TV show, which I never really watched, 24, he was president of the United States.
Outside, Lionel sits and observes different groups on the quad before George, an editor for the Bugle, the only campus paper with a New York Times advisor, offers him a job. Being black and all, he can get access to Sam and write a story that none of his white writers can, and George can get it published in the Bugle. George is played by Brandon Alter. Sam and Troy sit down so that he can transfer the digital and physical files for the job of head of house. He also tries to dissuade her from petitioning the president on the housing randomization. When he leaves, she gets a call from her mom to put a pin in something about her dad. Lionel reads from Ebony and Ivy that the dining hall is the hub of community in Parker Armstrong, so he goes there for lunch. The major characters all chime in with their various levels of or lack of enthusiasm for black culture. When the point is made that is true and is still true today that the lynch mobs of the past are still around, rebranded as the Republican Party, Kurt objects and then gives a bunch of fucking alt-right 101 talking points.
Bullshit. You have something to add?
Me? Yeah, I do. Look, your biggest athletes, right? Movie stars. Hell, guys, my president is black. Okay, sometimes I think the hardest thing to be in the American workforce right now is an educated white guy.
You're not serious.
Hey, look, you guys still got affirmative action. That's all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Yep, sounds like a white guy. Although,
yep,
I will give him credit. At least he says it's my president.
Yeah, I was mildly amused by that. Sam argues with him, and he says that's a bad move. So she kicks him and his white friends out of the house. Then she kicks Lionel out, even though he's black, for not living there, as he texts George that he's got an angle for the Bugle story. She gets a slow clap for all of that from most of the cafeteria. Not Troy or Coco's tables, though.
I found her standing up to him obviously is good. Her throwing them out, well, maybe the white kids out fine, but they don't eat there? Well, then how did they get in? Clearly, people are allowed to go into different dorms and eat.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there'd be security to stop them.
Mm-hmm. Coco goes back to her dorm and gets envious of Sam's Dear White People subscriber numbers. DTSW feels that envy.
She's doing better than us, that's true.
Yep. She posts a rant to her own vlog about white women assuming her hair isn't real. Then she posts an unseen reply to a Dear White People video before we cut to a chapter card for show and tell.
The one thing I would not object, but I think if she really wanted to get hits, yes, she would go, oh, Dear White People, I don't care for that. But she would, if she really wanted to get attention, she would go hard right. Go like, oh, I'm not like these other black people. They were like, oh, lazy and stupid, and I'm just wonderful. I mean, the Clarence Thomas, basically,
yeah,
thing. Because that's where the money is, I can assure you. If you want to make a lot of money in this country, and if you're gay, hate gay people. if you're black, hate black people. There are just billionaires out there will happily just throw money at you.
Mm-hmm. In Sam's media studies class, they watch her short silent film, Rebirth of a Nation. The white TA, Gabe, gives a critique of it being thematically dubious. Afterwards, the only problem the instructor has with it is that it was late. Sam's juggling a lot between the radio show, head of house job, and a sick dad back home. That's the phone call pin. Don't pull it out yet. He advises her to pull it together.
Yeah, she could always resign that position if it's too busy at the head of the house job, which apparently is just her put in a petition. There's no other, not ask anything else of you.
Well, no, I mean, Troy does tell her, like, you are required to have 20 hours of office hours for other students to come complain to you about all the things that we're not going to hear about in this movie because there's no fucking time for it.
Well, it's just, again, like, but as far as we know, there are no other problems. She doesn't discuss any of them.
No, but he mentions that there are the same problems that you brought up. He brought up that, like, no, you need those hours to deal with those problems when they come up.
Mm-hmm. And also, how much time could a radio show take? She just says one sentence and then she moves on to something else. Her shows are only a minute long.
Mm-hmm.
Game is played by Justin Dobies. Both George and I have seen him as a stuntman of all things in Avengers Endgame and Avengers Infinity War. Have we ever had that before? We've seen an actor and his only credits we've seen him in is as a stunt person. I think this is the first time.
I never look for that profession, so I won't know.
Well, you'll notice it when you're looking at the credits. It'll say Endgame and it'll say stuntman.
Oh.
That's how I found it. I wasn't out for stunt.
I don't read that deeply.
Okay.
After class, Gabe joins Sam on a walk and talk back to her dorm room. The talking is about her film and the nuances of racial media representation. When they get back to her dorm room, they make with the sex.
Mm-hmm. She tells him to get on his knees.
Uh-huh.
What is he doing down there, do you think?
Cunnilingus, Joseph. He's performing cunnilingus.
Oh, I wasn't sure, because he disappears out of the frame of the film, and her head is thrown back, so I thought maybe he was, polishing her nails or something.
No, he's eating her pussy.
Okay. Thank you for clearing that up. I was completely confused.
You're welcome. Anytime I can help. In the morning, he congratulates her on winning the election as she's dodging calls and texts from Reggie, her black hopeful boyfriend and biggest supporter. When Gabe asks what they're doing, she says, fucking. Okay.
Well, though technically that's not what they were doing at that moment. They were lying in bed.
Yeah.
But I get what she was saying. Just what is our relationship? Our relationship is we're fucking.
Yep. Reggie watches her intensely as she gets into her studio for the next title drop.
Dear white people, please stop touching my hair. Does this look like a petting zoo to you?
You know, it's interesting. My whole life I've heard of the whole touching hair thing. Never happened to me. It literally never. No one's ever like the white person or a person in general who, you know, I wasn't in like an intimate relationship or something with, or doing my hair, touching my hair. It's interesting. I don't know if that's a thing people still have today, but never happened to me.
I've seen enough complaints about it on social media from people who just had it happen to them. Like, it's a phenomenon. White people be touching shit they shouldn't be touching.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm not saying anybody's lying. It's just that I'm just curious. I've never seen it. I've never experienced it. It's just weird. I don't know. I guess I'm just lucky that way.
I guess so. Or maybe unlucky. Maybe you would have liked to have more people touching you.
Well, the hair lowered on the body, perhaps.
Okay. Thanks for making me regret saying that. We join Kurt and the current staff of the Pastiche Humor magazine at the Garmin Clubhouse, while Lionel sits off to the side, flirting slightly with George over chat. Kurt's group is planning their big Halloween party and looking for a satire target as a theme. Right as they're wondering who on campus is being most unreasonable and therefore needs to be targeted for satire, we get another title drop playing from Lionel's laptop.
Shut up, guys, shut up. Knowing that a Wayne lyrics no longer earns you an honorary black card, it just reminds me of how often you say the word nigger when no one black is around, as is required in reciting said lyrics.
Now, I gotta give you credit, George. You definitely waited for black people to be around.
Yep, I only said it with black people around. There was no way that was not going to come up during this movie.
Don't write in, folks. We're good. It's a long time ago. We got past it.
This gets Kurt's wheels spinning up to that party we heard about at the beginning, but not before he notices Lionel sitting there, so he goes over and pulls his dick out, apologizing for the voicemail. Lionel isn't amused. Lionel picks up Ebony and Ivy and reads about the tip test, which I flashed in my head it was going to be something about just the tip. It wasn't.
Oh, now who's dirty?
Right? Then the film does a dramatic enactment of that test, wherein a waitress mistakes you for a different black person who left a shitty tip and then gives you poor service. So what do you, as a black person, do?
Wait. My whole thing about the tipping is that, I'm not going to tip you if I think you gave me horrible service. I think, and maybe it's because I'm just older as well, I think my service has gotten much better. I mean, obviously, sometimes I'll have issues, but overall, I certainly feel like the service I get in my 50s is much better than I got when I was in my 20s and 30s. That's the perception, anyway.
Yeah. Now we get another title drop.
Dear white people, in a shocking reversal, using the term African American is borderline racist now. It turns out if you're too worried about political correctness to say black, odds are you secretly just want to call us niggers anyway. And truth be told, I'd rather you be honest about it.
That is hands down the stupidest fucking thing ever. I'm sorry. See, someone who says African American doesn't secretly want to say nigger. I disagree with that completely. I think that's nonsense. Sorry.
That one is played in a meeting between Dean Fairbanks and President Fletcher. President's position is that all student issues are Fairbanks to solve, racial or otherwise, and thinks racism is over in America. He leaves as Troy comes in to see his father.
President Fletcher is played by Peter Syverston, who I've seen in A Simple Plan, also a very good movie. I think they overdo it with President Fletcher's racism. I think he would definitely be a racist, but I don't think he would be that blatant about it. I mean, unless this was like a right-wing school or something, I think an Ivy League school would be like, well, we should emphasize. I don't think he would just say racism is over. I don't think that's something an academic at that level at a school like an Ivy League school would say. I don't think it'd be that stupid.
I hope you're right.
I'm not saying they wouldn't be racist. I'm just saying they wouldn't make statements like that.
Yeah. They have a chat about how Troy is a failure for losing the election. While he wants to join Pastiche and still become a lawyer, his father says he should run for school president. Back in his dorm, he smokes a bowl in the bathroom before coming out to ask Sophia if he should wear a hat to game night. She would rather have his and I am quoting here, big black dick. He's not in the mood, and she takes that personally and leaves.
Mm-hmm. Well, she said he used to like it when she would say stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't remember the name of the comedian who said this, but he said one of the biggest orgasms he ever had was he was having sex with this white girl, and she said, give me your big black dick, or words to that effect. And he came, your nigger dick, and he came so hard. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, I could see how that would work on a physiological level, because then you're hate fucking at the same time. And that's some powerful energy right there.
He said he looked at her and then he came the hardest he ever had in his life.
I don't know what to say to that.
I don't either. It just popped into my head when I heard the story. Anyway,
I'm sure it popped right into her head too. I guess I did know what to say there.
Yes, you did.
Now we get the chapter card for game night. Lionel heads to the Bugle offices where George and another editor are watching Coco's vlog instead of the new Medea movie. Cut to Sam and her supporters at the theater ranting to the white ticket guy about Tyler Perry and the new Medea movie.
Which is the silliest scene in the movie. What is a ticket guy supposed to do about it?
Right?
He doesn't book the films. He just sells the tickets. You give him the money, he gives you the ticket for what movie you want to see. He doesn't determine what plays there. Although it is interesting, we really should probably see a Medea movie at least once. We have never seen one for the show.
No, we have not. I mean, can't we just say they don't work? Principle.
You know the reputation, I take it. Well, not just based on this film, what they talk about, but man, people have been making fun of those films for years.
I mean, it's drag for entertainment. Like drag for, it's drag, but without the drag. It's drag like it's Mrs. Doubtfire kind of drag.
Indeed. But that's not even the worst of it. The problem is that it's wrapped up in Christian fundamentalism, posing as like a broad entertainment movie, but it all comes back to Jesus, this and God, that, and they're bad. But people do love them.
At game night, a bunch of things happen. Troy tries to impress Kurt enough to get onto the pastiche staff. As he does this, Sam describes his behavior as that of an oofta, one who modulates their blackness to please others. Then she describes Coco as a nose job, or a black person who tries to assimilate into whiteness for fear that their blackness will cause a fuss.
What they're talking about there is called code switching.
Yep.
Basically, as a black person, or even then, just black people of color, you code switch to whoever you happen to be talking to at any particular time, which...
It's a survival tactic.
Well, yes, it is a survival tactic, but it's also true of everyone, isn't it?
Yeah.
You don't all talk to the same person the same way. I mean, you talk to your boss differently than you talk to me. I mean, we all code switch to a certain extent.
I actually don't, but I think that's because I'm maybe slightly autistic and I don't understand how to do that. I just talk the way I talk.
Okay.
The only thing I can do is modulate my intensity. And also, if I'm not mistaken, this is where everybody started writing 100 for things being correct. So that the oofta and nose job thing are the answers to things in Ebony and Ivy.
Mm-hmm.
And the options for choice A, B, and C were like 100, oofta, and nose job. So this is explaining what oofta and nose job does. Right here in the movie, they also explain what 100 is, which is the 100% correct. Which I think that's when people started saying that was 2014 because of this movie.
Could be, yeah.
Which means every time I've fucking done it, I've been doing cultural appropriation and not fucking realized it.
Yes, I meant to call you on that, yes. It's interesting, as a guy, and we earlier parts of the show, earlier parts when we first started the podcast, I made more jokes about it than I do now because it isn't so much as a thing, but when I was much younger, in high school and such, and even like when I graduated college, god damn, the people have to comment on my voice and how white I sounded. I'm talking from black people, not white people, black people. I once was setting up a date with this woman, and she asked me, well, what do you like about black girls? And I said, I don't know, my mother's one. I don't know what you... I said, oh, you're black? Oh, I didn't realize. I'm like, holy shit. So I don't know. Would I be considered a nose job? I'm not trying to assimilate the shit. I can't help how I sound, people.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you could be blacker. You're pretty black as far as color goes. You live in fucking Harlem.
And I live in fucking Harlem, yeah.
I'm actually, no, I never did meet your mother. I've seen pictures of your mother. I think you showed me pictures of your mother.
You've seen pictures of my mother. No, of my friends who have met my mother, you are not one of them. Yeah, it was, nope. Bernard has, Rocha did.
I mean, Todd probably has, but again, only because she lived in New York City.
I think my mother is one of the few people Todd has not met. Anyway, back to the script.
Anyway, back at the Bugle, Lionel recounts what he saw in the cafeteria as material for his story, while he uncomfortably lets the other editor play with his hair.
Which is such a bizarre thing. Nothing stopped him to turn around and go like, "Don't touch me, what are you doing?"
Again, I like it when people play with my hair, but I'm a white guy and people don't feel compelled to play with my hair. George says that there's a bigger profile piece here about Parker Armstrong.
What's the headline?
Outdated nationalist seeks purpose, starts race war.
Beers in the corner.
Yikes. Like, he was making a joke. And they're like, no, that's a headline. And we wonder how satire died with Trump. Back at game night, Kirk calls out Troy's shenanigans as just trying to get on staff and advises him not to be a pawn in their father's game by dating Sophie. He offers a solution to the staff thing. If Troy writes an invite to their upcoming party and his invite gets picked, he's guaranteed a staff spot.
Which is the worst. It's a humor magazine. Shouldn't he submit articles and see how funny they are? What the fuck? An invitation? That gets you on the magazine? What kind of audition is this?
It's like Hunger Games meets publishing. Other staffers bring Coco over. By the end of the night, with Troy and Coco's help, they've planned their hip-hop party. Those two end up going home together. All the way home together. At Armstrong Parker, Reggie tries to convince Sam to hold a rally against the randomization. Sam's hesitant, so Reggie walks away. Sam follows. They argue a bit, then they kiss. Gabe sees them and walks away. Sam promises to set up the rally. This summary is super fucking long.
It's also not the summary, but that scene is just ridiculous. Oh, my boyfriend just, whatever he is, the guy I'm fucking, just happens to walk by while I'm kissing this other guy. Wow, that's real convenient.
Now it's 2 a.m. and Lionel isn't allowed back into Garment House because the game night is still on and he wasn't invited.
Impossible. Would not happen.
He sends a message to Dean Fairbanks that he can't live there anymore. Now we get a chapter card for change of plans, starting with Troy breaking up with Sophia. He gets back to Armstrong Parker to find that Lionel is his new suite mate. Not roommate, but they're separate rooms with an adjoining door. Troy is not a fan of this.
Okay, I was really confused about that scene. And when I first saw this movie back in 2014, I was confused by it. If he's not the president anymore, shouldn't he give up that room and shouldn't Sam be in there?
I have no idea how any of that works. I never lived on a college campus.
No, but you remember he says that right.
The head of household doesn't have to share.
Yeah, he has his own suite. Well, he's not the head anymore.
But he's not even sharing a room. It's a suite.
Yeah. So that really should be her space.
Yeah. In the cafeteria, Reggie and a few others grill Lionel about his writing assignment and then throw paper balls at any white student who tries to enter and any black student entering with a white one.
Which again, campus security would go, no, we can't do that. That would be a big problem.
On the day of the rally, Sam is stopped by Dean Fairbanks, who calls her show racist.
Black people can't be racist. Prejudice, yes, but not racist. Racism describes a system of disadvantage based on race. Black people can't be racist since we don't stand to benefit from such a system.
What do you think of that? For me, it's a distinction without a difference, but what do you think?
No, I think that's like anti-racism 101.
I think it's bullshit.
I mean, I don't see the utility of even calling black people racist unless you're trying to deflect your own racism.
Well, yeah, I think the problem is that the assumption is that black people being racist against white people. But can black people be racist against Asians? Can they be racist against Hispanics? Because I think so.
I think that's true, but the context here, it's implied that Dear White People is racist against white people.
Right.
Because, it's in the title.
Yeah, nonetheless, though, she says black people can't be racist.
But you're correct. But that's correct. racial groups can be racist toward other racial groups when there's a power dynamic involved that would allow that to actually be racism and not just prejudice. Like, racism requires power to be there.
I don't know. I mean, one of the worst incidents in terms of non-white people, the white people involved incident was this black lady screaming at this poor Asian lady who couldn't quite speak English. She was like in a Chinese restaurant. And it was like, and the woman, like I said, the Asian lady obviously was recent to the country, couldn't quite speak English and was having a hard time communicating. This was like screaming at her and saying all these horrible things to her. I'm sorry, that to me was racist.
I mean, it's racist because the black woman knows the language, she knows the culture, she's from around here, which gives her a kind of cultural capital over this immigrant that she is racially targeting with her vitriol. Like, that there is power there. It's not a lot of power, but it's more than that immigrant had.
100%, yeah.
Dean Fairbanks is more concerned about the press implications of all of this. At the rally, as Sam is about to have to speak, she gets an SOS call about her dad. That's where we have to pull this pin out.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good. And off the cuff, I thought he died. Later, no, he doesn't die. But it was bad enough that it threw her, and she fuck it. She sees Gabe watching. Reggie's pressing her to start the rally, but she just runs back to her dorm room. Gabe gets stuck in there with her. And there's a really good line. He's like, I'm just trying to be here for you. And she says, can you be somewhere else for me? I thought that was a really good line. He tells her who he thinks she is, and she doesn't object.
No, she doesn't.
Then she gets another call. Her dad is stable. So Gabe leaves, and Sam just kind of abandons the rally.
Why? I mean, I get that the issue of their father plays some factor in who she is and some of what sort of acting out sort of thing she's doing. But you're right. Why not? Why make him sick? Why just not? I mean, I guess maybe it's too much to kill him, but it just seemed weird. Because you're right. It seemed like he would have died. Instead, it's like he's ill. We don't know ill of what. We never find out what exactly the problem is. Apparently, he's not serious enough that she needs to leave campus to go see him.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That just seemed weird to me. That almost seemed like a false note to me.
Yeah. Helmut meets with Coco to talk about the reality show he's making about black people existing in white spaces. Sam turned him down, so Coco is in. She's going to MC and live stream that pastiche party as a way to legitimize it.
Yeah, okay.
See how long that lasts. Troy sends his submission for the pastiche party invite.
Mm-hmm.
And now it turns out that Reggie hacked the voting system, and that's how Sam won the election. So now she has to face 2 boards of inquiry. One about her show, which is now off air, and the other about the election. I mean, when it rains, it fucking pours.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious about this. Is she using I wasn't clear about this. Was she using campus equipment to record the show?
I guess so.
Because it's not clear to me. I guess if they can close it down, right? Because otherwise, if she's doing it out of her own, well, I guess technically she's in a dorm room.
But we saw her room. Her room didn't have a bunch of recording equipment in it.
That's true. I guess it wasn't a recording space. But no one else is using, so I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know how they cut the show down, but whatever.
Troy reconfirms to his father that he does want indeed to be a lawyer. He just also wants to write jokes and smoke weed.
Which, as former comic myself, there are people like this.
Yep.
Went and got their law degree and then wrote jokes and smoked weed. And some went on to be somewhat successful.
Mm-hmm. As she's leaving President Fletcher's office, she snoops and overhears him tell Kurt that his party is canceled. Kurt says, there's like 100 people coming.
They've been having this party consistently for years. Why is something now the administration shuts down? I mean, they don't seem to know it's a hip hop party, right? Just that they're having.
No, they do know that.
They do know. Does he know? Okay.
Yeah, that's why he's picked a hell of a fucking time to pick this theme.
All right, I missed that. I just knew he said hell of a time just be doing this, but all right, I missed that. All right.
Lionel overhears George talking to their New York Times advisor about Lionel's profile piece and how black people seem to be stuck in the past. George assigns him to cover a donors event on Halloween, and then they kiss.
Why?
Yeah, why? Good question, Joe.
Because, hey, I just heard you say what I took to be, quite frankly, offensive, living in the past. Fuck you. But let's smooch anyway. Mm-hmm. Let me reward you with a smack on the lips, but it's not my fist.
Then the pastiche party invitation goes out, and I broke out the slur chime.
Dear white people, Are you tired of your humdrum, wonder-bred existence of accidental racism and wishing you could sip on Henny out your crunk cup without a bitch giving you the side eye? Of course you are. For all those looking to unleash their inner Negro from years of bondage and oppression, Pastiche proudly presents Dear White People, our 89th annual Hallows Eve costume party. Tonight at 10 Pacific time or 5 colored people time. Dudes must rock FUBU, Echo, Rockaware, or Sean John. Triple XL is the smallest size t-shirt you can wear, preferably with the collage of Barack Obama and Tupac on it. Ladies, we need to see huge hoop earrings, long nails, and cheap, tight clothes. Proper hood rat starts fight, speaks loudly, and when she can't think of the words she's trying to say, just makes one up, such as educated. Now feel free to fry on up some chicken, bring some Kool-Aid, watermelon, 40s, and of course, that purple drink. Naturally, there'll be a freestyle rap competition, so bring it and join us for the party of the year. Oh, and boy, that felt good.
Okay, so much there.
Yep.
I get that this is supposed to be satire, because has to be one of the worst invitations I've ever. I'm forgetting the racism of it. Just the way it's written is like, I wouldn't know. Is this for a party? I'm reading tons of paragraphs here just to get to. Am I going to this thing? What's going? Worst invitation ever. Yeah, it made no sense. I thought that was really badly written, to be honest.
Yep. I have nothing else to say about it either. I mean, the creators of this movie knew how to write hot garbage white people shit. And that invitation, that's not Troy's invitation, takes us to the chapter card for The Party. We see Troy smoking a blunt at the donor event. He's spotted by Lionel, who strikes up a conversation. And they come to something of an understanding.
That whole scene was really weird. We share a suite together. I'm really rude to you. You come over at one point to shake my hand, and I close a door on you, but suddenly we meet here, and suddenly we're chatting and friends. Didn't that not seem weird to you?
Yes, it seemed weird to me, Joe.
It's just like, it's suddenly the characters suddenly changed, and they're bonding over Star Trek, which, by the way, again, maybe the writer of this had a different experience than I did. Well, I guess we did, right? I don't recall anyone caring that you like Star Trek. It was nobody thought you were like white or something. If you like, especially after Deep Space Nine came out. I mean, what huh?
Mm-hmm.
But this guy's like, oh no, they make fun of me. My like Star Trek. I'm like, really? I mean, unless you wore the clothes, I guess. If you went to school dressed as a Trekkie, maybe then. But just expressing an interest in a TV show, I don't remember that being a big deal.
Then George and that other editor invite Lionel to the pastiche party. And inside is everything you heard in that invitation. And it's as black-faced cringy as it sounds. When they get there, George tells Lionel that he could eat him up like a Hershey's. Lionel excuses himself. I never said that even when I had a black boyfriend. I just want to point that out. I never did that shit.
Oh, it's such a weird thing. Like, why would... What I'm trying to express here is I'm trying to think. The racism here is just a little too, I guess, on the nose. That I would think the casual racism usually get on a college campus. They're usually not this blunt about it.
Yeah.
They're not this obvious. It's a sort of racism you go like, wait, was that racist? Or was he just, it's confused. It's almost the gaslighting sort of at least that's as I experienced it.
Yeah. So when Lionel excuses himself, he leaves to go find Sam, who is explicitly done being everyone's angry black chick. Except no, she's not.
No, she's far from done.
Troy sees pictures from the event and then heads over to the party.
Which is weird. Okay, he sees pictures of the event, but somehow none of the faculty does?
Mm-hmm.
None of the faculty sees that invitation? None of the faculty see these pictures? How is that possible?
And then Coco shows up in a blonde wig, and even she can't even with this thing. So Lionel goes to the Black Student Union. He mentions that, hey, there's this whole blackface party going on down the block. Troy goes to his father about it. Lionel accidentally unites all of the racial minority groups to head over there.
If only.
Yep. Even Sam shows up, camera in hand, and films as Lionel starts dismantling the DJ booth. It empties into the street, and Kurt starts beating on Lionel, so Lionel kisses him. That doesn't exactly calm Kurt down. He ends up getting pulled off by Reggie. Pulled off of Lionel, not like,
That's a different movie, George.
Different and a different kind of pulling off. And the other black student union guys pick Lionel up.
You know, the reason I take it, because if you remember earlier in the film, Kurt seems to always have some sort of problem with Lionel. I still take it that Kurt is secretly gay. And I think that's the way it was written. And I think that's because Kurt says, hey, you finally got me what you wanted, and then gives him a kiss. I think that's the way he was reading it as well, but I don't know.
Sam continues to film the aftermath, and we see news coverage, and President Fletcher getting yelled at, and white people claiming this shit is their freedom of speech, and Troy running for student president.
By the way, just so everyone understands, you can have freedom of speech and still be racist. It doesn't.
Yep.
They're not mutually exclusive. Sure, you have the right to say it, and people have a right to respond to it.
Yep.
That's how freedom of speech works. That seems to be always the real problem with let's face it, white people who complain about, oh, I have my freedom of speech. What you want is no pushback, is what you really mean, because no one's stopping you from saying it. What we're doing is reacting to when you say it.
Mm-hmm. Sam may or may not have hacked Pastiche's Facebook page to send out the invite, but it did show everybody exactly what character of that school was.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, I'm done writing about this movie. Like, it kept going, but I'm done. The end.
What do you think of the mixed race girl ended up with the white guy as opposed to the black guy?
I don't
black
give
guy who
a
has no
shit.
character development.
I don't give a shit who fucks who in any movie.
All right, George, does this still work?
I don't know that I can answer that question.
Try. Come on, buddy.
It's a satire. It's over the top, which is on par for a satire.
Mm-hmm.
Like, on that basis, yeah, it works. It's a fucking satire. It definitely satirizes a bunch of shit. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
I feel like if I say more, I'm going to get in trouble.
For myself, yeah, I did not like this movie on second viewing. The first time I saw it many years ago, 10 years ago, I liked it more now. I don't know. Some of the references have been dated. Some of the, that was pretty funny. How they like supported Kanye West. And mm-hmm. She has her Cosby dream. I'm like, oh my God. Oh, but how could the film know? You know, who knew? Right. Who knew in 2014?
Oh, no, I think they did. I think we did know about Cosby in 2014. I think that was the joke.
No, she just talking about a sweater, not that she was being drunk or anything.
Right. But that she would be having, like, she doesn't want to have those dreams because he's a fucking creep. Like, even an innocent dream about Cosby is now tinged by that knowledge.
I think at that point, what he was a creep is, he's one of those, he was, if you remember, at the time, he was complaining about black people not being sufficiently talking properly, and he had this whole story of, this black couple he saw talking improper English and how black people need to get more educated. Just real classist bullshit from him. I think that's what people were complaining about at the time. The rape stuff came out later.
Nah.
Not that it matter. I mean, Cosby's an asshole. It doesn't matter.
Yes.
He's a piece of shit. Anyway, my feelings about the film. I still think it works because the issues are still there and it's relevant enough and it's got enough relevancy here and there in it. I would be very curious if they did a remake of this.
I mean, they made a television show about it.
Yes, they did. But I never watched a TV show, so maybe the TV show handled it, although I doubt it, because it's sort of different now. I would like to see a movie like this, but with Palestinian students. Or, you know, black and Palestinian students.
Yeah.
And dealing with all the issues on that score. And the dean or the president having to deal with, you know, congressional hearings about all this anti-Semitism on campus. Because, you know, students are protesting about Palestine, so therefore they must be anti-Semitic. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff that I think would make very interesting to do a film about that these days. But as far as this particular picture goes, as it's made there, it's okay. Yeah, I say it still works. Nominally. Yeah, it is a satire, but that doesn't mean you can't still have good characters. And the characters just aren't that interesting to me.
I mean, part of the fact of it being satire is because, like, remember, Trump broke satire. There are people who spout those lines unironically today.
I'm not even talking about the white characters, the black ones. But obviously, there are lines in here that real people really say. I'm not suggesting otherwise. I'm simply saying these are not characters.
Right.
And I would have liked actual characters. I didn't care about anybody in this. I didn't feel any depth of feeling for anyone. It wasn't funny enough for me to be like I don't know, with an Adam Sandler picture where like, hey, it's stupid, but I'm laughing a lot. I don't laugh at it. And at the same time, I didn't care enough about the character. So I'm like, that's not great to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it still works. I think it's a picture and it's important for people to see. But I think it's lacking in a lot of ways as well.
Alrighty.
But that's just my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Georgie Porgy, what's up next?
Next week, we'll be talking about The Breakfast Club from 1985.
Oh, wow, that's next? Okay.
Yep.
Another goddamn John Hughes movie.
Yep.
So I guess that's it for this episode. I'm Joe Dixon. Thanks for listening.
And I'm George Romaka. Thanks for listening indeed. Because if a podcast drops and there's no one around to hear it, it's just another collection of ones and zeros that doesn't matter.
What? You dreaming Cosby again?
My hair was so straight, my sweater's so big.
You've been listening to Does This Still Work? Produced by Joe Dixon and George Romaka. The hosts can be reached via social media, email, or the contact page at dtswpod.com. Be good to yourself and others, because that still works.
Well, that one was played in a meeting between Dean Fairbanks and President Fletcher. Oh, President Fletcher. Fucking. That one
President
is played.
Fletcher.
That one is played in a meeting between Dear. I'm a 24-year-old straight guy who recently broke up with my girlfriend of more than 4 years. I've been with my wife for 10 years. We are both 36 years old. I am a 40-year-old cishet man. For more than 20 years, most of my life so far, I've been obsessed with one woman.